And so this quite situation horrible assassin.
A few weeks ago, a big YouTuber named Kwite came under fire and got put in the
Uh,
crosshairs of the entire internet
I
after some
do
extremely serious allegations were levied against him. The
allegations.
allegations came from one person on Twitter in particular who released a massive document that accused him of some truly heinous things. And as a result, his
What
ham was getting
is
steamed,
that?
they were calling him a criminal, and just like the
Criminal, huh?
Thornberrys, Twitter went a little wild. They were judge, jury, and
Yes, he
executioner
or
and decided in the court of public opinion that Kwite was already guilty on everything he was charged with. So they labeled him a rapist. They were no longer allegations, all
jeez,
of it was presented as facts. This
that's
was as
kind of
real as algebra now, and if you said, like, hey, maybe let's wait to hear from the other side for a moment, you would have been labeled evil. If you even tried to utter the forbidden phrase of innocent until proven guilty, you would have been burned at the
okay.
stake like it was the fucking Salem witch trials. It's also important to mention that it was more than rape, too. They threw the entire kitchen sink at him. Every fucking horrible term you could imagine was all getting flushed down quite like he was a
It's actually
goddamn
true
public
though.
toilet. He was labeled many awful things, and 2 days ago he came forward to debunk the entire thing in an
Oh,
hour and a half long
that's
video,
fine.
thoroughly going through every single accusation and pretty much tearing it to pieces with an incredible amount
Manifesto.
of evidence and honestly just an incredible amount of bravery with some of the things that he publicly owns up to. Very personal, very big insecurities, such as like sexual performance and his anxiety regarding anything sexual, and even admitting to still being a virgin. There was a lot of things that he talked about here that I know for a fact couldn't have been easy,
Or
especially
celebration.
because now he put his face on it. Up until this point, Quite hid his face. He hid his actual identity, but because of all of these accusations, he was doxxed from it, as I understand, and he wanted to showcase how seriously he was taking everything. So he dropped the mask and the hoodie and put his real face on top of this stinky shit cake that he was served, and he just brought down the brass tacks and laid out all of the facts as well as all of the context and a significant amount of evidence supporting his claims and debunking the things that the accuser was saying. This is probably one of the strongest rebuttals I've ever seen from an internet content creator when faced with serious allegations. The way Kwite has handled this is very, very impressive. And the response to it has been overwhelmingly positive in favor of Kwite. Now, most people are starting to rally behind Kwite and seeing a lot of the things presented by the accuser were either outright lies or manipulated or completely misleading series of accounts of situations. It's all just not looking great. And in response, they've also posted I guess what was supposed to be a receipt proving that they've seen a
Mm.
therapist for PTSD, I guess, but that's all really pretty
Oh
shady
wow.
and sketchy and also not super important to what's being discussed here. So overall, just
Relevant
isn't
about
looking good
the
for the
topic.
initial accusations. And I just want to kind of talk about this whole situation, not so much the particulars of it, because that's not my place to really talk about it. If you want to see the whole situation, I highly recommend going to Quite's video to get a full grasp
This
on
is in
all
the
of it.
video
What I
or
want to talk about is the mob mentality that instantly formed against Quite while being completely against hearing his side of it or listening to anyone that wanted to wait before fully forming their opinion. Because I caught a lot of shit for not talking about it for the course of 3 weeks, saying that I was trying to silence the story of a big rapist on YouTube
mm.
and all kinds of horrible things, just awful shit. And I want to just talk about that because I'm not even surprised because the general mentality on the internet is believe
Mob
all victims
mentality.
no matter what and don't ask questions because everyone wants to believe the best in people. If a victim is coming forward, it's because they're legitimately a victim and everything they're saying is the truth.
It's like an
Every
immoral
argument
situation.
they're making, everything they're presenting is a fact and it's all a 100% account of what actually happened in these situations. And it's kind of a naive way of
Immoral
thinking.
situation
Like, it's
completely
just
wiped
extremely
out, I
trusting. Like my
guess.
dad. Like a week ago, my dad sent me a text saying, "Hey, bud, I was playing Forza," because I got my dad into Forza. He's become quite the gamer now. I was playing Forza and I got a message from someone saying that I was really good and he wanted me to, like, sign up for his team or something, but I can't get the website to work. And I panicked. I was like, holy fuck, Dad, this is absolutely a scam. Don't you dare go to that site or sign up for whatever he's trying to sell on you. It's not real. And I know that was probably a tough pill to swallow for him. It probably broke his heart because he responded with like, "Oh, okay, maybe he didn't think I was good." And I had to reassure him. I was like, "No, Dad, I'm sure that wasn't the case. You were probably clapping cheeks out there. He's just, he's not
Okay.
being truthful with you. You can't just immediately trust complete strangers all the time, especially in a situation where there's multiple people involved in the situation. It's important to get all sides of it so you get a full scope, a full educated look at everything going on. There's nothing wrong with seeing someone come forward and being like, holy shit, this is terrible. I'm sorry to hear all of that. But I'd like to wait to see all the other sides involved here before I fully form an opinion on all of this. Like, it's not that I don't believe you, it's that I'd like to wait to see everything before I fully understand what was going on here. And you can still, of course, be supportive of the victim that came forward, like, wow, I'm really sorry to read all of these things, it's fucking horrible. But you don't have to immediately start getting the pitchforks and the fucking shield out ready to go fight the person that's accused without ever even hearing their side first, right? Because the sad reality is people can lie. That includes accusers that are coming forward against somebody. They
And
could
lying.
be telling some things that aren't entirely truthful or maybe are a little misremembered or misleading. There have been cases of people just
Misremembered, huh?
outright making shit up in order to hurt someone that they had a falling out with. There's been an unreal amount of cases like that. And it's something that I've learned the hard way. A very quick, great example is Mick Gordon versus Bethesda. With the Doom OST, Doom Eternal OST, there was a huge hoopla, a
I didn't know about that
big
one.
fucking gross meatball of controversy in terms of Mick Gordon versus Bethesda. One of the higher ups made a Reddit post accusing Mick Gordon of being lazy. It's all his fault. The OST's kind of shitty. Mick Gordon's just awful, awful to work with. And I believed it. I took him at face value, even
Blaming
though he
Satan.
never even really provided real evidence to support his claims. It's just one of those things of, well, why would he come forward and lie about it? I trusted him. He was in a position of power, too, where it'd be really weird to risk his entire reputation and the reputation of his company to just outright lie about one of the most beloved artists in the video game soundtrack space. So it just didn't make sense to me, so I took it at
Mm,
face value. Like, damn, Mick Gordon must just
I
be a
can lie.
lazy asshole. And you already know how that fairy tale ends. 2 years later, Mick Gordon drops one of the fattest fuck yous of all time with an unreal amount of evidence and receipts to debunk everything that was claimed by Bethesda and highlight just how awful all of it was and who was really
That's good.
responsible for the shittiness of the OST. Still one of the
You
finest
don't have the
pieces
evidence
of
there in your
reverse
pack.
like Uno card ever. And it came 2 years later after I and many others had already fully made their judgment on Mick Gordon's character based off of one accuser. And unfortunately, history repeated itself here, and everyone accepted all of these allegations as fact based on one accuser's account of all of it. And these are life ruining accusations, fucking rape and a ton of other horrible things. Like
Mm,
those aren't goofy little silly accusations. That's not something you toss out willy-nilly like a fucking baseball. That can ruin your life. That will sink you. And people just ran with it. Didn't ask questions,
I
didn't
get
care
that.
to hear Kwite's side
Yes.
of anything. Everything Kwite did, they criticized. Like, I think he took down his Discord server and they took that as a deeper admission of guilt. Everything that happened only confirmed the accusations must be real. Everything that didn't happen, the longer Kwite waited, the more and more people were convinced that everything was truthful there because he's taking so long to respond. The guilt must be weighing him down. He's a rapist.
Yeah, to
And they
prepare.
kept pushing that everywhere. Twitter, all over the place. And now he's responded, and the shoe's on the other foot. A lot of the people that were calling him a rapist have at least publicly eaten shit on it and
Okay,
apologized
that's
to him, which
good.
is nice. Not all of them. There's some holdouts there that just still outright refuse to even listen to him, which is always the worst fucking mentality ever. Where, oh, I heard one side, I don't want to hear the other. Doesn't matter what you say, I will always think this way of you. Those fucking losers grind my ass so hard because it's clear you don't care about the
Mm,
truth. You just want somebody to hate. And this has given you a perfect excuse to hate someone. You have a new villain to attack because you didn't even want to hear the side that would offer more of an insight and help you get closer to the truth of the situation. It didn't fucking matter to you. You just want to stay mad forever and continue to live this miserable life of finding people to hate online and having this list of
they
people
just
that you
want to
feel
troll, I
justified
guess.
to attack and say horrible things to and about. It's fucking tragic. I hate that shit. But luckily, that's not everyone. That's only a small group of people that are for some reason still adopting that mindset. But yeah, anyway, just kind of wanted to talk about all of this because it's a pretty awful situation that I thought was worth going over at least a little bit.
And then
That's about it.
instead, I guess it's been debunked, I guess. Quick to jump to conclusions, I guess. Some people have announced it.